Alright guys, welcome back. Now today I've got a very interesting article to share with all of you, and it serves as a prime example of what happens when a woman decides to live her life based on feminist values. Now I'm going to start off with the title, okay? Sex and the City creator says she regrets choosing her career over having children. Okay? Now, before I get into it, I would like to add a few things. Number one, the article will be down in the description so that if any of you want to take a look, you can read it for yourselves. And there was also similar articles. Okay, this actually was back from an interview in 2019. That's when it's actually from, so a couple of years back. And there's a few different ones, but it all has the same information, but you can research that on your own. Number two, the purpose of this video is education. On one side, to educate men to avoid dating and getting involved or in a relationship with such females because they will just drag you down with them, okay? And for the ladies watching, if you are young, if you're in your 20s, even if you're in your early 30s, don't waste your precious youth, beauty and fertility living the lifestyle that this woman did, because you will regret it. And there is no coming back from that. And on a final note, if any of you do ask, Christian, what's that? I cut myself shaving yesterday morning with my razor. That's what it is. Now that I've covered everything, let's get right into the article. I'm going to break it down, give it my thoughts, because it is very educational. Okay, it says a lot about how destructive feminism is. You're wanting to know about this. So, it starts off from the first paragraph saying, despite the success of the Trailblazer series, Sex and the City, its creator, Candace Bushnell, now admits she regrets choosing her career over having children. And you can see here in the picture, she's had her face done, facelift, Botox, which I looked it up and it's true. She did admit to having all of that done. So she's 60 years old in 2019, which means this year she's 62. And this is the same woman that had this whole TV series, right, Sex and the City, which teaches an entire generation of women to be promiscuous, to choose independence over motherhood, to sleep around and have all these sex marathons, and be a party girl, go out drinking and clubbing. I don't need no man. Focus on your career. Have your fun, okay? And she lived that lifestyle. And what does it say in the title? She regrets choosing her career over having children. So if she herself, right, Candace Bushnell, taught this lifestyle to all of these women, right, and she herself regrets it, what does that say about living that way? It's disgusting. Oh, and by the way, Candace Bushnell is a very prominent and well-known feminist. Look it up. So the 60-year-old, whose 1997 book later became the wildly popular TV series, I honestly do not know how something so disgusting could become so popular. Sadly, it did. She says she's now truly alone and regrets not having children prior to her divorce in 2012. When I was in my 30s and 40s, I didn't think about it, she says. Then when I got divorced and I was in my 50s, I started to see the impact of not having children and of truly being alone. I do see that people with children have an anchor in a way that people who have no kids don't. So, before I carry on with the next paragraph, I just want to break this down a little bit. It's interesting to see the regret in what she's saying, right? Looking back now, she says, only after her divorce can she start to see the impact of not having children and of truly being alone. She didn't think about it in her 30s and 40s, she said. Why? Why would she? She herself is a self-proclaimed feminist, and her entire TV series, Sex and the City, is based around teaching an entire generation of women to reject their femininity, reject wifehood and motherhood, reject being traditional, rebel, sleep around, be promiscuous, have sex marathons. Be with as many men as you want. Chase your career. Be independent. I don't need no man. And again, that's the lifestyle she chose to live. She's the one who's teaching it to women, right? So why would she, if she's consumed by that lifestyle of lust and pleasure and fame and success, why would she worry right there and then about having children? Because in her mind, she probably thinks, I can do it later in life. But ladies, that's not true. Women have a window of fertility. When a woman hits her mid to late 30s, in some rare cases into the early 40s, and that's a stretch with IVF and fertility clinics, women get to a point where they are not fertile anymore. Men can conceive children 40s, 50s, 60s, as long as they're fertile, which the average man is. That's biological, that's real. That's what's called the biological clock. And when women get in their 30s, it starts ticking because your body's telling you you're waiting too late to have children. But instead, she's so masculine, she's rejected her femininity, that's not even in her. But it's only now where she's got no one, no husband to come home and love, no children to hold in her arms, to see them grow up and care for them and nurture them. She's got no one. So of course she's going to be now at 62, looking back thinking, this wasn't a good idea. Carrying on with the next paragraph. The popular franchise's main character, Carrie Bradshaw, played by Sarah Jessica Parker, was created as a fictionalized version of Candace. What a coinkydink. Carrie is a young female writer who lives in New York City and famously chooses her independence and career over motherhood. There we have it. That is exactly what Sex and the City is about. Again, it comes down to her own ego, her own narcissism. See, when she was young and she had her beauty and she was attractive, like unfortunately a lot of modern women do, it gets to their head. They become very self-centered and think, I've got the world on my shoulders. I can get any man I want and I can push that aside and I'll just have my career. I'll find a good man later on. One of them will wait for me. No, they won't. And that is why she made the Sex and the City about her own life, because she thought it was so good. Until now, she's 62, she's looking back and she regrets it. So obviously it wasn't all that good, was it? But there's no reset button, there's no playback. Okay? There's no option to try again at life. You screwed up once, you screwed up forever. Ladies, if you're watching, be very careful to live this way. Candace, who divorced Charles Askergad after 10 years of marriage, is now dating a real estate agent and is prepared to release a new book titled Is There Still Sex in the City? Now, I will say I did actually look up the reason for the divorce. Apparently, her ex-husband did cheat on her with some girl that was like 23. So there is that. She did get betrayed. And now she's dating some guy called some real estate agent. And he's obviously some low value guy who's dating is washed up, used up, damaged woman. Ain't gonna end too well. The book, due out in early August, deals with what the author describes as middle-aged sadness and obstacles women face once they turn 50. It follows a group of women who seek a fresh start in their Hamptons. Okay, I want to break this down. What she's talking about here is cope. This is an unhealthy coping mechanism. She's saying that, again, she's projecting the pain she has within. Remember, she screwed her life over. Partying, surgeries, choosing the wrong men, living a career-oriented lifestyle throughout her 30s, 40s, and 50s. Now she's got no one in her life. So because she says, I have middle-age sadness, she's projecting that and saying that these are the obstacles that women face once they turn 30. No. These are the obstacles that damaged goods face, okay, in their 50s. My mother turned 60 this year, okay. My parents have been married for 25 years. And they dated 4 years before getting married, so they've been together for a total of 29. Let's round it up and call it 30 years. When my brother was born, my mother, she used to be a personal trainer, fitness trainer, an instructor at the gym. She stopped working and she decided to go full-time a mum. My dad worked, my mum stayed at home, cooked, cleaned, took care of the home, and that's what she did. She embraced her femininity and decided to be a mother. And she said it was the best thing she ever did. She never even wanted to go back to her career. That's what happens when a woman lives her life according to nature, what is innate to her. And my parents did it the traditional way, and coincidentally, they're still together. My mother never went out and had girls' nights out. My mother's never had plastic surgery. My parents have both been faithful to each other and they've had a very good relationship, and they still do, because they did it the right way. Sure, they had a few ups and downs with communication, but they're still together. Okay? So her talking this crap, saying that middle-aged sadness when women become 50, that's crap. That's what happens to former party girls. Okay? Feminists that reject choosing a good man. Feminists that use up the best years of their lives sleeping around, focused on only having a career instead of finding themselves a good man and cashing in their chips. That is what she's describing, because she's projecting what she's facing in her own life due to the choices she's made. Okay? And now, and she said the book follows a group of women who seek a fresh start. There's no fresh start once you've destroyed your value as a woman. At that age, it ain't happening. Unless you want to get a litter of kittens or settle for an unattractive leftover man, okay? Those are your options at that age. And the highly anticipated book is already being adapted into a TV series. No one's going to watch that. Unless they're also damaged goods. In a recent interview, Candace revealed that the novel was inspired by her real-life relocation to the Hamptons in New York State with a few of her friends. Oh, of course it is. I mean, the very first series she made was about her own promiscuous, Miss Independent lifestyle, wasn't it? So of course this was going to be a follow-up, because it's all about her. And this is why, guys, you avoid dating party girls. These girls, they are selfish, they are immature, and they live for the moment. They live for themselves. They do not care about what is my life going to be in 10 years. They ruin their body with alcohol, with drugs, with casual sex. They destroy their ability to pair bond. They end up hurting and ruining themselves emotionally and mentally. And then once they get older, they lose their looks at an even worse rate. Because they're insecure and lonely, they get all the plastic surgery and they end up living a miserable life. And that is the price they pay for living in vanity, living a life that is based on pleasure. Doesn't end well. She said, "We're all single women without children." What a coincidence. And you think about it, what are you going to do when you get old? She says, "If you don't have kids, you realize, who's going to take care of me? Well, your girlfriends." That's literally it. That's her reality now. This is how Candace Bushnell, very famous feminist, has ended up. Alone, with regret, saying that if you don't have kids, you realize who's going to take care of me? Well, your girlfriends, she says. Isn't that sad? She'll be on her deathbed. There will be no children. There's no legacy. There'll be no grandchildren. There's no husband by her side. This is the life of a former party girl. Miss Independent, career-oriented. Choose independence over motherhood, ladies, and you'll be happy. You won't. Look how she ended up. And it's funny how she surrounded herself by her friends that are the same way as her. This is why I've said to you men, when you first get involved with a woman, don't just observe her family background, look at her lifestyle in general. If all of her friends are single, are married, want to party, want to go clubbing, they're not interested in that lifestyle, what does that say about her? She's just like them. And do you know why she hangs around with those girls? Because they won't judge her if she decides to have a one-night stand. Okay, they won't look down on her if she wants to have her sex marathons with different men. You know why? Because they live that way. They will encourage her. They will protect her. They're all in it together. Let's all get our Botox and our plastic surgeries and keep going out there partying. And then where are all the good men gone? So if you're a man watching this, please, when you put yourself out there, you start dating, and you come across a girl, there's nothing wrong with her having a career and a job. It's good that a woman has a little bit of independence and wants to take care of herself. But just make sure she maintains her femininity. Make sure she says things like, well, one day I'd like to be a mother, one day I'd like to have a family. I'll just work because I have to. But if you date one of these girls and she starts to say things like, I don't want kids, I just want to party, I want to go to Vegas, I want to go to Cabo, right? I want to go traveling, I want to visit Paris with my girlfriends, I want to go to London. If you date a woman like that, it's a lost cause. Because she's gonna eventually become promiscuous, even if she hasn't yet. Because that is just what happens. You live that lifestyle, you will become demoralized. You lose your values. That's what happens to these girls. They ruin themselves with drugs and alcohol. Because when they're young and they're beautiful, they think they've got the whole world on their shoulders. They think they can pick and choose, and they can, there and then. But as they age, they can't. And this is why a lot of these women that are former party chicks, they get old, they start to lose their looks, okay? And you see it happen with older women if you look at it. They become sweet, nice, and now they're ready to settle down because they've had their fun. Just like Miss Candace Bushnell. They've had their fun and they are alone. And then they look around and they try and sell for a guy. They still lost their ability to pair bond. They still wouldn't be with you for the right reasons, but they will try. Do not be that guy. Do not date former party girls that are old. As a man, you can date younger, more fertile, more beautiful women. Avoid women that have lived this lifestyle. And if you're a young guy watching, you're building up your career, you're building up your business, do not get involved with women like this. It will not end well for you. Because these women, due to their upbringing, whether it's having a weak, absent or neglectful father, whether it's being influenced by feminism from an early age, they've rejected their femininity. They are masculine to the bone. Okay, these girls, they will never be submissive, okay? In a relationship to you, they will always talk back. They will always feel like they're above you, that they can go out and live their life and that they don't need you or want you for the right reasons. They will compare you because they're consumed with the vanity that they've created for themselves. And it's impossible to maintain a healthy, committed relationship with someone like this. Because their mind is all over the place. They're immature. They're selfish. They don't make good wives and mothers, which is why Candace Bushnell is single, childless. And all of her friends are also single and childless. Tells you something, doesn't it? She's the queen feminist that told all her little minions, girls, Sex in the City is the life. Really, look how it turned out for her. So don't be that beta cuck like this guy she's dating now, who's with her. Don't ever take leftovers, guys. It's just not worth it. Choose honest, traditional girls that value their purity, okay, and that do not live this way. And for the ladies watching, if you're young, you're watching this, you're in your 20s, even if you're in your early 30s, you're at the peak of your beauty and your fertility. You are the prettiest you will ever be in your life. Yes, if you work out and you eat clean and you don't ruin yourself with drugs and partying and drinking, you will age gracefully. But eventually you're still going to age. Men are visually stimulated. Quality men want the highest quality of woman they can get. And that includes you being very beautiful. That's just reality. Biologically, men are stimulated and designed to mate with a woman that has the most attractive features so they can produce the most attractive offspring to perpetuate the species. It's common sense. Now, when you're young and you're attractive, ladies, every guy wants you. You got social media, you go out in public, guys check you out. You got Instagram, you make a dating app, you get hundreds of horny men at your beck and call. You can pick and choose. You have handsome men, you have unattractive men, you've got tall men, you've got short men. You have successful men and unsuccessful men, masculine men and weak men. This is what you have now when you're young and attractive. Shrug that ego off. Count your blessings when you're young and beautiful, because these are your best years. Yes, have your career on the side, but by all means, find yourself a good man now. Because as you age, your options are going to get slimmer and slimmer. That attention you got when you were younger is going to start to fade away. Okay? Do not waste your best years. Because when you're young, you can get a handsome, successful, masculine guy with good values who's traditional. And as long as you support that guy, you're loving, you're kind, you're feminine, you're submissive, you are giving when you're around him, you both build a bond, you guys can have a life. You will both age together and he will happily be committed to you. And you won't end up like her. But if you don't want to live that way, be just like her. Focus only on your career. But as you get older and your looks start to fade and your biological clock starts ticking and you panic, I need to have kids, you're going to be left with two options. You can get a litter of 12 kittens and give them a lovely home. Or at the very least, you get the leftover men. What are the leftover men? Unattractive men who never got a woman. Men that have toxic traits that are, abusive. Men that cheat on women, that they just never commit. Okay, they always push women away. You get the men that are insecure, more effeminate. Men that have no ambition, no drive. Or you get the guys that are players, the men that are your age, but they still sleep around, they're promiscuous, and they'll just pump and dump you. They will never commit to you. Because, as the old saying goes, right, good women get married off very young. Guess what? Good men actually get married off when they're young too, generally speaking. Because they've got options. And they'll choose a good woman if they want to. Or at the very least, throughout their 30s, after establishing themselves in their career and business, they will go ahead and get themselves a woman. But a man can afford to go a little bit slower, because he can still father children into his 30s, 40s, 50s. The average man. You see? That's reality. There's nothing sexist about that. It's the truth. And I'm saying this to the young girls watching so that you can protect yourself. So that you don't live a life of regret. Don't believe the lies of feminism, that you can have your career and you can have it all. Because Candace Bushnell and her Sex and the City proves that it is a lie. She's the one who created it, and she herself is living a life of loneliness. Because she rejected her motherhood, wifehood, femininity. To be masculine, to have a taste of what it feels like to be a man. She doesn't enjoy it. because she's not a man at her core. But she's already broken them. There's no going back. You can't turn back time. This is why you see a lot of older women who are single, childless. They're bitter at young, beautiful women. Or they get upset when they see a guy who's like 35 date a woman who's like 28. Oh, he's dating a younger woman because he can. That's the trade-off. Don't waste your best years. Cash in your chips. Let the feminists that you know at college, university, at the workplace, let them live that life. And they're going to end up like her, having the lip fillers. They'll keep going out on the weekends, different man after different man. Oh, I'm lonely. Where are all the good men gone? The good men went away with the good women. Just like that. Because when you lose your beauty, you lose your options with men. There's nothing else for me to say on that. In fact, there was actually another article about of the same story of how she regrets choosing career over children, and it mentioned how she said as she got older, into her 50s and 60s, she's finding it harder to date. And she said that she could afford to make more mistakes when she was younger, 20s and 30s. Yeah, because when you're younger, you've still got your beauty, you've still got your youth, there's still options. There's still men that want you. But as you get older, men that are her same age are either married off or they're dating younger women. And at the very least, if they date a woman her age, they're settling. Because a woman her age can't give him a family, can't give him children. She's got to maintain herself with plastic surgery, for goodness sakes. Please, for the young girls watching in your 20s, you got one shot. And I'm saying this now, and right now I'm your best friend. If you don't believe me, give yourself 10, 15 years. And you'll come back to my channel in 10, 15 years and go, I rejected that. I rejected my life of what I could have had, a family, for my career. And now when you're lonely and you're single, you'll come back. And you'll think, that guy did say, that Christian guy did say, cash in your chips when you're young. Find yourself a good man and you can do the career on the side. But oftentimes you will find that even when you have a good man and you have children, eventually you will actually want to give up the career. If the husband can afford it, of course. Because you will just innately want to be a wife and a mum. That's where a woman is her happiest, when she's nurturing and caring. That's when she's in her element. And you don't want to find out the hard way like her. There's a lot of older women that regret it. And I can go through different articles like this. They do. Okay? I know when you're young, you're beautiful, it's a great feeling as a woman to go around and have all these guys want you, have you pick and choose. But when you get older, there's just less options. This is why, for them, and also for the men watching, make no mistake about it. If a woman is unmarried, past her late 30s, and she's still single, unless it's like she's had a very difficult relationship throughout her 20s, she needed a long time to heal, which is the exception. Other than that, if a woman is still single at that age, and she's still good looking, there's either something wrong with her mentally, or she's done that by choice. Because good-looking women get hit on when they're in high school, when they're in college, when they're at university, when they're at work, when they're out and about on social media. They've got choice. So if a woman's got choice, eventually she's going to come across a man she likes, get to know him, start dating, next thing you know, they're married and they're happy. If she chose a good guy. So if you see a hot girl, if she still looks hot and she's old, and she's still single, you might want to ask yourself, why is that? Because just like this Candace Bushnell, she chose to live that life. She chose to push all the good men away and embrace, as she said, independence over motherhood. And then eventually the good men go, okay, they'll find another good girl and they're happy. And now she's 60, 62 now. I'm alone. That's the moral of the story. It's not even a story, it's an experience. That's the moral of her experience, the moral of her life. So, on a final note, men avoid dating women that make these life choices. Because these women have already rejected their femininity. They only want the career, they only want to be independent, they want to be masculine. They don't want to be feminine, they don't want to be traditional, they don't want to be women. The very fact that they reject their own femininity says there's something wrong with them. Let it be another man's problem. Do not get involved, because she won't marry you, but she'll settle for you. She might have kids with you, but then she's going to be out partying, clubbing, and do you wrong. It's not worth it. Traditional and feminine is the only thing you should be going for. And for the ladies watching, you know what to do now. If you're young, your beauty is a gift. Use it to your advantage when you're young. Don't sleep around. Do not live that lifestyle. Find yourself a good man. That's it. Cash in your chips. This is your one shot you get. Okay? Do not end up like her. Choose to hang around other like-minded traditional feminine women that will also influence you to live positive and moral life. If you have any female friends, ladies, that are like her, they want to go clubbing on the weekend, they want to go drinking, they're constantly getting different men in their life, cut them off. And if you try and talk to them and they show no signs of changing, also cut them off. Because bad company corrupts good morals. And they can influence you. Even if you're a good girl and you think it's not going to affect you, give yourself a few more years. Hanging around that woman, eventually it's going to change your morals. Because her lifestyle is going to rub off on you and it's going to become intertwined. And they can pull you down and make terrible choices. Do not hang around these liberated, modernized feminists. Okay? There's a famous saying, which I'm going to say in Spanish, for anyone who doesn't know. I do speak Spanish. It goes like this. Dime con quién andas y te diré quién eres. The translation is, tell me who you walk with and I'll tell you who you are. If all of your friends are losers, you're a loser. As a woman, if you hang around girls that are promiscuous, girls that are feminists, girls that are radicalized to hate their own gender and reject what makes them women, it might rub off on you eventually. Protect yourself. Avoid these women. And those are my thoughts, guys. That's the end of the video. So I'm going to send you the article, and there is actually a couple more which I haven't gone through, which is the same interview just from different news networks, and it's a little bit more in depth, and I just didn't want to go through them. So because they talk about other information which isn't necessarily about what happened to her, they just talk about other things about her life too, and I just didn't want to add that in the video, but I'll have them both linked down below. And again, as always, if any of you would like to send me an email, if you're interested in a coaching call, or just to share me your story, a situation, anything you're dealing with, any video suggestions, shoot me an email and I will get back to you. If you enjoyed the video, by all means, share it with your buddies. And if you're new, you can also hit the subscribe button. And for all of my subscribers that have been with me in the long term, I appreciate every single one of you. It means the world to me. And with that said, I hope you all enjoyed the video. I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a blessed day.